Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jess De Los Santos, and it is my honor to be your host for the 5th breakout track of the Philippine Digital Convention 2020, entitled E-Commerce and Retail, brought to you by Pldt Enterprise, Smart and ePLDT. We're excited to have you join us as we continue to help you discover how you can pivot your enterprise towards success to ensure lasting and effective change as we enter the new future of work. Truly, the Philippine Digital Convention 2020 is set to be like no other, as this is the first all-virtual iteration of the convention. But as we like to say at PLDT, pivot or perish. And this virtual convention is but a manifestation of how we've transformed in light of the current business landscape. Likewise, we hope that it serves as a venue for you to find ways for your organization to continuously evolve. But before we get to that, we would once again like to thank our official event partners. Today, we will take a look at retailers that have been challenged to reshape business models and adopt e-commerce platforms to reach customers. With consumption behavior shifting to digital, this session aims to equip retailers with transformative digital technologies and augment the operations of the e-commerce companies that will help them future-proof their businesses. And just because we're virtual doesn't mean that this year's session is going to be any less interactive or engaging. We would love to hear from you, so do share your thoughts and insights by keying them in the chat box or by posting them in your respective social media accounts with the official event hashtags #BraceForImpact and #PHDigicon2020. Also get a chance to win exciting raffle prizes just by answering our feedback form, which will be made available after this session, so stay tuned for that. Here to give us an overview of the e-commerce and retail forecast, opportunities, as well as various strategies that have emerged since a sudden digital shift, our first speaker is a highly respected equity analyst from the investment banking sector who has studied the TMT sector for the last 25 years and currently leads the development of Global Data's thematic research. Please welcome Cyrus Mewawala.
Thank you, Jess. I'm going to talk to you about the themes shaping the future of the retail and e-commerce sector over the next year. Let's start by looking at our revised retail sales growth forecasts for 3 Asia-Pacific markets: China, Malaysia, and the Philippines, between 2019 and 2023. All 3 retail markets are experiencing a boom in online food and grocery sales. In 2020, we forecast online F&G retail sales, the brown line, to grow by 100% in China, 55% in Malaysia, and 80% in the Philippines. In 2021, we expect all 3 markets to see a slight decline in online F&G retail sales to correct the exceptional rise in 2020. Online players in these markets need to hold on to the new customers that they gained in 2020, and later I will show you some of the strategies that can help in that process. Now let's focus on the outlook for the retail sector in the Philippines. The data on the screen shows our revisions to our 2020 retail sales forecast for the Philippines in key fast-moving consumer goods categories from our pre-COVID baseline figures. The left-hand chart shows the top 10 downward revisions, and the right-hand chart shows the top 10 upward revisions. Categories that are losing out the most tend to be in personal care, and spirits is also a big loser. By contrast, 9 out of 10 of the top 10 winning categories in the Philippines are food staples, such as meat, pasta, dairy, and beans. Now let's look at some of the key themes that our retail analysts in Global Data track for our clients. They include technology themes like cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, macroeconomic themes like COVID-19 and geopolitics, and industry themes like personalization and customer loyalty. If you're in the retail industry, you should ensure that you fully understand all of these themes. In this presentation, I'm going to focus on payments, omnichannel strategies, personalization, and cybersecurity. So let's start with payments. Shopping and payments have been moving to mobile for a while now. The pandemic has hastened this trend. We estimate the size of the global mobile commerce market to be over $2 trillion this year and growing at over 12% per annum. The table on the right lists the top mobile commerce markets in the world. 5 of them are in Asia. China's mobile commerce market has a compound annual growth rate of 20% for the 5-year period to 2022. In South Korea, it's growing at 21%, in India at 29%, in Thailand at 17%, and in Japan at 12%. There is also a growing landscape of payment methods. During the pandemic, those payment methods that favored convenience, such as mobile wallets, have become more popular with customers. Whilst online mobile payment platforms like PayPal have traditionally led the way, payment through mobile devices has now become the fastest growing payment channel for online retail, with Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay all leading the way. Many online retailers have also developed their own payment platforms, including Amazon, Paytm in India, and Alibaba in China. Developing an in-house payment platform gives retailers valuable information on their customers' shopping habits, and it can be an instrument to foster customer loyalty. Whilst you may not have the investment required to build your own payment platform, it's worth considering which payment platforms you offer and partner with, because the goal of payments should be to build customer loyalty by accessing customer spending profiles. Moving on to another trend that preceded the pandemic, omnichannel strategies. Omnichannel strategies have become more and more sophisticated over the years compared to the early click and brick models. Let's look at 2 examples of how things have changed. First, we turn to Amazon's Easy Stores in India. Amazon upgraded its Easy Store format in India, integrating multiple services through a common touchpoint. Customers can touch and feel the product on display at a physical store. If they like it, the new store format allows customers to order through Amazon.in and either collect the product from the store or get it delivered at their homes. In addition, local store owners can earn extra income by enrolling on Amazon's I Have Space program, where they are paid to deliver Amazon items within their locality. This creates a better customer experience, allowing the customer to switch seamlessly between online and offline retail shopping, based on whichever is most convenient. Our second example of emerging omnichannel strategies comes from Alibaba in China. Alibaba's new retail model also integrates online and offline to provide new experiences. The new retail concept was first introduced by Jack Ma, co-founder and former chairman, back in 2016. Under new retail, customers can effortlessly switch between online and offline channels. For instance, they can buy products online while being in a physical store, or they can shop in a virtual store and get their chosen product delivered to a physical store or kiosk. Customers enjoy the tangible experience of physical stores and the convenience and product range of online shopping simultaneously. Customer loyalty programs are another pre-pandemic trend whose importance will increase. First, let's go over what customer loyalty is and the different types. Loyalty programs are marketing strategies that, when effective, drive customer loyalty and encourage frequent purchases through providing enticing incentives and reasons to purchase. These programs are designed to motivate return visits and limit customer acquisition opportunities for competitors. There's 4 types of key loyalty programs. Reward points. These allow customers to earn points when they spend, which they can later redeem for purchases. Multi-level reward points. These allow customers to reach higher tiers in the reward structure when they pass predefined milestones. Paid subscriptions. These allow customers to gain certain benefits, such as free delivery, by paying an annual subscription. Amazon Prime is a key example of this. And then partnerships, which allow brands to pool rewards, which can then be spent on a range of brands or retailers later on. Post-COVID, an effective customer loyalty program will be paramount, and this is why. As retailers continue to struggle to maintain sales, particularly offline, understanding shopper behavior and spending patterns that are typically highlighted by good loyalty programs will be essential in protecting their core shopper base. Declines in footfall will compel retailers to design strategies to improve customer retention. Increased competition from online-only retailers will also be a factor. What are the typical features of a successful customer loyalty program? First, effective engagement and communication with your customer. You must use loyalty programs to build strong customer relationships. Second, offer your customers bespoke offers that will encourage them to love your brand. Third, make it easy for customers to track points and rewards. And finally, embed the loyalty program within your omnichannel strategy. Make sure mobile is part of this program. Personalization goes hand in hand with customer loyalty. It is yet another theme that will help you overcome the downturn brought about by COVID-19. Consumers are demanding better shopping experiences that are tailored to each customer. Aristocracy London, a British menswear brand, provides a great case study. The company launched a digital tailor app called Sizer Body Measurements and Fit to provide customers with a store-like experience without leaving the comfort of their homes. The app uses the front camera of the user's smartphone to capture their measurements and send them to the user's email address. The app also provides a unique and personalized online experience to customers that are stuck in their homes or are apprehensive about going out to visit stores. By incorporating contactless measurement solutions, Aristocracy London makes the experience of purchasing clothes that fit much, much easier. But personalization exposes you to risks as well as opportunities. The greater you personalize the shopping experience, the more customer data you collect. This gives rise to a number of challenges around data security. Questions that all retailers should be asking of their chief data officers are these. Who owns the data? Who has access to the data? What is the data worth? Where is the data located? And how well is the data protected? According to a worldwide cybersecurity study conducted by Global Data in 2019, more than half of all retailers in the Philippines reported a data security breach. The survey revealed that these data breaches result in loss of productivity, distrust from customers, and loss of intellectual property. And worst of all, loss of customers. As retail moves online and becomes more personalized, data protection becomes a business-critical function that needs to be monitored right up at board level. So we've covered a number of tech themes that are disrupting the retail sector: payments, omnichannel, personalization, and cybersecurity. But there's a worrying trend revealed by our 2020 Emerging Tech Trends Survey, which surveyed 1,776 business leaders around the world, spanning 20 industries. When asked about the levels of readiness in their business, the levels of readiness for digital disruption, retailers ranked second from bottom, just above food service. The data is quite recent and the 2020 report hasn't been published yet, so you're seeing it firsthand. So this presents an opportunity for you to tech-enable your business and get ahead of most of your peers. And now some final conclusions. The impact of COVID-19 has put pressure on prices and margins. When it comes to mobile and payment strategy, laggards in the transition to online paid a price when the pandemic hit. So ensure you invest in mobile commerce now. In terms of omnichannel strategy, the days of clicks and mortar are now gone. Omnichannel strategies have become much more sophisticated. Consumers favor those retailers who provide a seamless experience between online and offline. This requires investment in logistics, cloud computing, and artificial intelligence. Personalization and customer loyalty. Providing personalized experiences and a solid customer loyalty strategy will be key to weather the post-COVID market. Mobile must be a part of your story. And finally, cybersecurity. Failure to adequately protect customer data will damage your brand, your revenues, and your profitability. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here talking to you, and I hope you have a very pleasant afternoon.
Thank you, Cyrus, for those insights. With that in mind, I'm sure you're all wondering what the current state of e-commerce and retail is in the country and what trends should we be following. Our next speaker will be able to share that and more. She has been with the Department of Trade and Industry for 21 years. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome e-commerce lead at the Office of the Assistant Secretary of the Department of Trade and Industry, Assistant Secretary Mary Jean Pacheco.
Good afternoon to the virtual audience of Philippine Digital Convention. This is Jean Pacheco from the Department of Trade and Industry, and I'd like to thank PLDT Enterprise for inviting us over to be here in today's session. For the e-commerce and the retail breakout session, I only have 4 messages to bring to the audience. The message is quite simple. The potential for e-commerce is huge. You can see the statistics on your screen. E-commerce, by the numbers as we call it, we have 108 million Filipinos, but we have more than that have mobile phones. But let's look at forecast for e-commerce. You can see in your screen, based on the Google study, that by 2025 there will be about $12 billion that's in internet retail. But I'd like to focus on one particular statistic, which is from the Euromonitor, which says that less than 4% are actually e-commerce. No, that means to say that only almost 4 billion are into internet retail. Now, we did ask our e-commerce platforms what they think of e-commerce. And if you look at the internet, the marketplace platforms, they are quite positive about e-commerce, the future of e-commerce in the country. So would be our digital payment providers, which they mentioned about forced behavior now during the COVID. In logistics, there's a little bit of some concern that we're lagging, but the potential is also there. And of course, in the digital media, we can see very well that everyone knows the potential of e-commerce. For the second message, we have to really admit that COVID accelerated e-commerce. And we can see that with the statistics of the Department of Trade and Industry. As you know, the DTI is the one who registers business name. From less than 2,000, it has really grown to 80,000, and that's a huge jump. And I'm also pleased to say that because we are also into online payment in terms of business name, compared to last year, there are more people who paid online, no? Rather than compared to last year. While you see more registration of business names this year, another effect is that there has been a tremendous increase again in terms of consumer complaints. So while there is an increase in business, so did consumer complaints. So what is my number 3 message? What is government doing to promote e-commerce? When the Secretary of Trade gave us this directive, which I call the Prime Directive, he made it very clear that the mission of the DTI should be to build trust in e-commerce. And when we say building trust, really, it's about making sure that we encourage more online buyers and online merchants. No? So that's what we mean by building trust in e-commerce. And I am pleased to tell you that the Department of Trade has a small unit which I lead, which is the e-commerce office. But you can see here that we say we are e-commerce, no? Because the entire Department of Trade cuts across and covers e-commerce. So we have a consumer protection group, we have an industry development group, a trade promotion group, an SME group, or a regional operations group, which actually is mobilized to promote e-commerce. So the question is, what are we doing? So we are in policy regulation. We are in the digitalization of micro, small, medium enterprises. We are promoting ease of doing business, no? In terms of promoting e-commerce, and most especially in the advocacy and promotion. So that is what we are focusing on. So let me tackle that very briefly. What is your government doing? We are into the formulation of the Philippine e-commerce roadmap. We had one in 2016 to 2022 and to 2020, but now that it's already year 2020, it's time to update the roadmap. And I am very pleased that this is being done in conjunction and in partnership with the private sector. We are pleased that during the State of the Nation address of the President mentioned the proposed Internet Transactions Act. This particular bill is very important because it promotes e-commerce growth and at the same time promotes consumer protection. So this is one of the areas by which we, the government, is promoting e-commerce. So let's go now to the digitalization of micro, small, medium enterprises. As you can see, we had a reboot program where we called on our partners, and I'd like to do a special thank you to PLDT Enterprise who actually called on and took up the call and gave us some provisions for the micro, small, medium enterprises, giving them free internet for those who would want to subscribe and become new internet businesses. And one of those programs would also be in terms of onboarding to platforms and also providing training, which we call control biz. But you know what we'd like to tell you is that while doing all of this reboot program, what we did was really to come up with a survey of micro, small, medium enterprises, because we really wanted to figure out what they need. No? Digitalization, as we say, is important. So we did a study and we identified what the classification based on an ASEAN studies, and you can very well see that the majority of our micro, small, medium enterprises are what you call basic, meaning to say they use the email for starters. If you're intermediate, then you sell online. Maybe you have a website or you are in Facebook, and then when you are advanced, then you do data analytics. Very clearly now, because of our survey, we realized that over 20% actually do not use ICT. And that means to say that this is where government needs to increase its advocacy. So the digitalization of SMEs is something that we would like to continue. We asked the SMEs about the types of tools that they use. Most of them use mobile phones, and most of them do use it 6 times a week. So I won't go through all the details of the programs on digitalization, only to say that we have enabling partners that actually help us. We are looking at digitalizing merchants. We are working with other government agencies like the Banco Central. We are also focusing on skills, and we have both an entrepreneurial skills pathway and as well as negosyo and trabajo pathway, because what we want really is for both the e-commerce companies to have the appropriate skills, and also the entrepreneurs should be digitalized. So there, the final work of government is on advocacy and promotion. Here, we always say that we need to build trust between e-commerce players, whether you are an online merchant and an online consumer or an online buyer. We have coined the term "basta e-commerce madali." It can carry double meaning, meaning it is fast. Either you are a buyer or you are a seller. And but for us in government, madali stands for market access, digitalization of SMEs, and logistics integration. Those are the priorities of the Department of Trade in promoting e-commerce. And then I also did mention about the strategic framework, which is speed, security, and structure is equal to sales. And another key message that we have is on e-commerce, basically asking everyone to now embrace, we say adapt or perish. Finally, as an advocacy, what we are offering is for our people to know that the DTI is here. We have an e-commerce office that is truly here to help the needs of the e-commerce ecosystem, so to speak. So there, I'd like to end my presentation with a final message, which is a summary. It's very much in line with the theme of impact. So we'd like to move forward, and how do we create impact? Of course, we are promoting sound policy. We are promoting a regulatory framework and an e-commerce Philippines 22 roadmap that will help us make the e-commerce more robust. We are providing for digitalization of micro, small, medium enterprises. And we are also promoting online consumers, meaning to say you buy online because what we want is really for online merchants to also benefit. And then I'd like to also end by thanking, because we have a strong engagement with the e-commerce ecosystem, and without our partners, especially Pldt Enterprise and all of these enabling partners that have actually helped us make all of our programs successful on e-commerce. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone again. Basta e-commerce, madali. So that ends my presentation. I'd like to thank PLDT Enterprise for this wonderful opportunity for conducting a successful PH DigiCon. We'd like to thank you everyone for all of the support that you have given the Department of Trade and Industry. And see you later in the panel discussion.
Thank you so much for sharing DTI's initiatives and programs that will define the next steps and prepare business owners and entrepreneurs in the country. ASIC Jean. And now to walk us through the evolving e-commerce and retail sector and an overview of the latest solutions and technologies accelerating change and transformation, please welcome PLDT Enterprise Customer Relationship Management Heads for Retail, Mr. Anthony Fernandez, and for e-commerce, Ms. Kay Bondoc de la Cruz.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, especially to our distinguished guests. It is our pleasure to welcome you to DigiCon 2020. Today, we will share with you the new reality of retail business amidst the current situation. We hope that this forum will share insights and provide guidance on how partnership and collaboration will be key in your businesses. The present condition has drastically changed the landscape of retail business. Store closures due to strict lockdown has caused uncertainty from retail business owners and consumers alike. It has been evident that a drastic shift of demand from various consumers paved the way for changes in buying patterns, needs, and purchase behavior. The health and safety for both consumers and employees is a primary concern. According to Peter Maxwell of FrameWeb, the retailers should prepare and establish an experiential playground for their consumers, which will be trusted and transparent safe haven as they attempt to rebound from this pandemic, or at least ensuring that business operations will continue if another incident of this magnitude happens. Retail businesses has quickly engaged into this framework. Relieve, ensuring that digital integration is available and easily deployed. Respond, ensuring that they continue to be with their consumers in all available digital channels. And lastly, revive. This ensures that the full spectrum of consumer journey will be considered and the retail business ably supporting the end-to-end business operation, whether fully digital or in hybrid mode. With most of us being on a remote working environment, we heavily depend on technology in order to adapt to the current changes and imagination, such that limited mobility to several government restrictions have been observed. Retail businesses continue to thrive as they try to reinvent their business operations. Oftentimes, businesses would consider several touch points in ensuring that their retail brands are present. This is their response to a recent study which shows that an average shopper journey is 7.6 touch points before they engage with the brand. Such is the need and dependency for various points of presence. For most businesses, the recent study shows the technology adoption of retail business are leaning towards online marketplace. But respectively, retailers' website and apps, similarly with the direct-to-consumer engagements, are to be dependent upon. Messaging platforms and social media are also one thing, but retail businesses are not yet done as they continue to reinvent and be relevant to their consumers. The good news is you don't need to go through IT alone. Allow me to introduce my colleague, Ms. Kay de la Cruz, who will share with you the different platforms for this transformation.
Thank you very much, Anthony, for sharing your insights on the retail industry and how the pandemic is rewriting the rules of retail. Now, let's have a quick look at the e-commerce industry as we recognize how it dominates the new normal retail. Times of difficulty are great drivers of change, of innovation, and there are so many impressive initiatives around the globe to adapt to the new normal. I'm certain that in a post-lockdown world, many of these changes will persist, particularly the buying habits of our consumers. The latest statistics from global data show that the e-commerce transactions in the Philippines will continue to grow to roughly 1.4% of GDP from 1.1% of the same period last year. This translates to more than $5 billion in e-commerce value by 2021 and $12 billion by 2025. Our local e-commerce brands have also posted significant growth in their transactions ever since the nationwide lockdowns have been implemented, highlighting a symbolic increase in digital payments and use of online banking and e-wallets. The challenge now for many businesses is how to manage the shift from a brick-and-mortar operations to an online business and continue to sustain their revenues and remain competitive in the market. The very first focus is customer experience through engagements in the company's buying platform. Now, what makes a digital platform successful? Allow me to share some key characteristics of a successful and effective e-commerce platform to sustain customer trust and loyalty. First, it has to be easy. From looking to buying to after-sales support, the customer should have a seamless experience. While we recognize that a lot of our MSMEs are at the initial stages of their digital transformation journey, it is important to aim to shift from a multi-channel approach to an omni-channel system. Next, it has to be immediate. Almost automatic in terms of end-to-end experience, so businesses must ensure that the front, back, and far end are effectively tied up together. And of course, it should be always on. The brick-and-mortar concept of store hours and opening or closing times do not exist in digital. For the online customers, there is only my time. And lastly, but is one of the most important factors, the system should always be secure. With the massive customer data and spike in usage, it is a must to ensure that cybersecurity and data privacy are in place. This is where we build and sustain customer trust. As we go through the rest of the conference, we would like to tell you that we are one with you as you go through your digital journey in the e-commerce space. There will be various solutions and discussions that aim to help the businesses survive in this very challenging times. Just always remember the customer journey and experiences are the path to a successful e-commerce business. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you, Anthony and Kay, for taking us through the journey of what's to come for business owners, retailers, and entrepreneurs in the country. Now let's take a closer look at the notable trends, technologies, and best practices that have redefined Facebook's systems and processes in this digitized landscape. Joining us this afternoon is a vertical lead at Facebook, responsible for the advertising business with primary focus in e-commerce, QSRs, auto and telecommunications verticals. Prior to Facebook, he was part of Metro Bank and Samsung Mobile Philippines. Please welcome Gino Pineda.
Hi everyone, it's an honor to be invited to speak in this event. I hope that all of you are doing well and are keeping safe. Congrats to Pldt Enterprise for putting together this amazing virtual event. My name is Gino Pineda. I'm a husband, I'm a dad to 2 young boys, and at the same time, I am the vertical lead for e-commerce for Facebook Philippines. Pardon me in advance if you hear my kids later on in the background as I'm broadcasting from home. When we talk about impact, we're talking about enabling businesses to thrive during this very difficult and uncertain time. And at this day and age, we need to equip businesses to leverage on discovery commerce. So today in this breakout session, I'll be speaking about discovery commerce. And to put simply, discovery commerce enables businesses to go one step further by creating purchase intent rather than waiting for it to happen. Overall, we live in an age of unprecedented curation. Today, our consumers expect things to be tailored to their tastes and in the formats that they prefer. And because of this demand for curation, data matters more than ever. Powered by data, advertising lets businesses build personal and direct relationships with billions of consumers in the world. And perhaps this demand for curation also extends to the ads our consumers wish to see. And taking a step back, it's been said that digital transformation has accelerated in the last few years, particularly in the last few months. Right at this very moment that we are in the middle of a pandemic, in the world's longest lockdown, e-com has not just been a convenience, but a lifeline for many Filipinos. As a matter of fact, it took less than half the time for internet sales in Asia Pacific to increase by 10%, which is now at 24%, a record high. The change itself was not unexpected, but the pace of change is drastic that no one could have anticipated, no one could have predicted. Going a bit deeper in 2020, lockdown rules forced us to change our behaviors, and many of us now plan to sustain these new habits. In APAC, more than half of the population plan to shop more online even after the pandemic. And specific to the Philippines, according to Kantar, we've seen an increase in online shopping penetration. And at the same time, more than 70% of the population plan to increase their e-com spends in the future. And as online shopping increases, discovery commerce matters more than ever. Businesses embracing discovery commerce recognize that the consumer journey starts well before intent, and they understand that while meeting demand is critical, it's also now super important to create demand through discovery. Here's how Facebook can help. To support your business in becoming even more data-driven, customer-centric, and agile, today I would like to share the Facebook Discovery Commerce system. First, it begins with rich data. We need to understand how people are interacting with your business. Second, we need to leverage sophisticated advertising tools. We need to put the data to work. We need to help your product find the right consumer at the right time. And finally, we need to maximize engaging shopping surfaces. We need to make it faster and easier for your consumers to find and purchase you. In sum, discovery commerce enables businesses to go one step further. It's not just about meeting consumers' needs, but anticipating them as they happen. E-commerce is about search and purchasing through a site, which means that people are limited to finding the products that they already know they want. On the other hand, with discovery commerce, the products find the people. So your consumers can discover things that they are most likely to purchase and most likely to love. So let's take a closer look. At Facebook, we've always built for people first. We know that no two people's interests and passions are the same, and neither are their experiences on our apps. And over the 15 years we've been building the newsfeed, it's become the most advanced discovery engine. Every single feed for every single user is now unique. It's discovery and customization on a massive scale. So here's how the system works. So you see how we're able to create these customer-centric experiences that are good for people as they are good for businesses. We see beyond demographics to uncover what makes people human. That's because people are complex and people are very surprising. Each person has a diverse set of interests, experiences, needs, and wants. And we're able to align with those unique facets simply because of our deep knowledge of people. But even if we know the people on our platforms, nobody knows your consumers better than you do. And so when you share what you know about your customers, you help the system find the people who are most valuable to your business. Then, with some help from machine learning, Facebook will show your ad to the right person at the right time and in the right format. For example, let's say that you're selling shoes. You might want to create a variety of ads, right? From featuring different unique selling points, whether it's style, color, comfort, and so on. At Facebook, we know which consumers are likely to choose comfort over style, for example. And so the system will show them the comfort-led ads over the others, which means that ads will be personalized to each consumer. And that's the essence of personalization at scale. That's how you close a sale. When people connect with your ads, they can be easily moved from discovery to purchase. That's because your customers are already engaging with your product in a place where they love spending time. So that's minimal friction because they are already on Facebook. And as more and more insights are gathered, the system becomes better and better at creating demand and helping you grow your business. Finally, it is this continuously improving system that makes Facebook the home of discovery commerce. So I'd like to end with a quote from Mark. We know that it's a tough time out there, and we're here to help you grow your business and invest in the future. After all, we are all in this together. We live in super interesting times, and digital makes it a level playing field across all types of businesses. It's now a matter of creating that intent and capturing that intent. Thank you, everybody, and do keep safe.
Thank you, Gino, for those great insights. Again, we would love to hear thoughts and insights. Do key them in the chat box or post them in your respective social media accounts. When doing so, use the official event hashtags, hashtag Brace for Impact and hashtag PHDigicon2020. Now, as we slowly shift and adapt to cashless transactions, our next speaker will be talking about how companies can utilize digital payment solutions and transform their business operations in this digitized ecosystem. Please welcome our next speaker, who has more than 10 years of experience in digital payments and is currently doing business development, where he manages different fund source, partners, and technology providers. Please welcome Paymaya Enterprise Business Development Manager, Spencer Romano.
Good afternoon. I hope everyone is safe at home with their loved ones. I am Spencer, and I lead the business development of Paymaya Enterprise. And I'm thankful for the invitation to be part of Digicon. Paymaya is a digital financial services company that is geared towards solving the challenges of the modern day Filipino. We have different shareholders, which includes Pldt, the biggest telco up there, KKR, Tencent, and IFC. And I'm proud to say that we are a Filipino company built to serve the Filipinos. Now, moving on to why we digitize payments. These are unusual times where all of us have been forced to adapt in order to operate and continue to serve our customers. For the past 7 months, where various forms of quarantine was implemented, both consumers and businesses have accelerated adoption of digital and cashless options. We are turning into this new form of modality to minimize risk and continue getting the products and services we need. Cashless payments, online ordering, delivery, and remote fulfillment is the norm. And we see 5 compelling reasons why. 1, going online is no longer an option. It is a requirement. We saw how businesses pivoted in the last 7 months to transform from brick and mortar to online. Online became a means to meet the rapidly changing demands of our consumers. 2, moving into e-commerce, there's a need to have multiple ways to engage with a customer. Personally, I saw the rise of commerce in Viber, Messenger, emails, SMS, among others. Having multiple channels not only creates reach, but it's a way to be resilient during a time when uncertainty is common. 3, the quarantine highlighted the rise of these hyper-local communities. These are groups, Viber or Messenger, that serve those near their area. focusing on the needs of the customers within the community. It's important to be part of this community as this opened up opportunities to businesses. 4, now that we have some looser form of quarantine, people are going out, but there have been some changes because close contact is still risky. There's even some evidence that the virus survives for a significant amount of time in cash, providing the customer an option to pay with just a tap or a scan. It's imperative to create a healthy environment. Fifth, and the last is every business should be able to accept any payment from their customers, regardless of the form or modality. This freedom creates a better experience for the customers. I'd like to share with all of you some of the interesting implementations we have had that is relevant right now. These are new ways to engage with customers. As you can see, all ordering and payments are happening online through Messenger. So this is a new way to engage and meet your customers without them actually leaving the comfort of their home. This is Checkout, which is geared towards websites, enabling partners to accept payments through desktop or mobile phones. Digital invoicing allows merchants to collect payments even without a website. Digital invoice creates a payment link and can be sent through email and instant messaging apps to customers. Once the buyer receives it, they click and they make a payment. We also support those businesses that use Shopify, Magento, and WooCommerce. We remove the heavy integration work so that businesses can focus on starting their online presence immediately. And we have PayMaya One, which is a device that is able to accept all kinds of payments: card, tap, dip, QR, scan. This is the very first smart Android POS terminal in the Philippines. For those that want a basic contactless implementation, we have the QR, allowing merchants to accept millions of customers who use our wallet. And that's the end of my presentation. Again, thank you for your time and catch you later during the Q&A portion.
Thank you for that, Spencer. And now here to demonstrate and show us practical applications of various technologies, redefining how the e-commerce and retail sector can collaborate better in the new future of work. Please welcome Enterprise Solution Specialist Arman Garcia, Product Specialist Mika Santamaria, Segment Marketing Specialist Tristan Lindo, and Digital Transformation Strategist Francis Valencia from Pldt Enterprise.
In a world where physical presence is discouraged, how do you make a mark? In a close interaction are now prohibited, how do you strengthen your connections? If staying where you are is what is expected of you, how will you reach greater heights? For an industry that is heavily dependent on physical presence and interaction in the actual world, it seems like the only place to be in this pandemic is online. Hello and good afternoon. I am Arman Garcia from Pldt Enterprise and welcome to the Retail and E-commerce Breakout. During the first few months of 2020, the retail industry focused on relieving the wound that the pandemic has caused. Stores were closed, supply chains disrupted, sales has a difficulty coming in, and people focused on stocking up the essential. Despite the challenges, retailers, big and small, resorted to conversational commerce, utilizing messaging platforms such as Viber communities and social media to reach and transact with customers who stayed home and went online. With the needs to get online and stay connected, our fixed and wireless connectivity solution, fiber and LTE, enabled businesses to survive by connecting and transacting with their customers. As businesses adapt and transactions shift to contactless, retailers are now regaining momentum. However, consumers have grown accustomed to online purchases, and health risks of physical going in the store are now big consideration for them. So, how do we respond to this new customer preference and behavior? And with most transactions happen digitally, how do we keep our day-to-day online operation secured and uninterrupted? Here's product specialist Mika Santa Maria to fill you in.
Health and safety have the highest importance for all shoppers, whether it's online or in-store. Setting up a convenient contactless payment solution such as PayMaya allows retailers to accept payments whether it's online, in-store, mobile, via simple QR code. Establishing a contact tracing procedure using digital forms from Microsoft 365 will make a customer's visit safer and more convenient. All they have to do is connect to your Wi-Fi to scan a QR code and input their information. No need to share pens and papers. As your operations become more digital, your connectivity should be able to handle this new workload. With Beyond Fiber's more reliable business-grade fiber and high-speed wireless 5G connectivity, your physical stores and even work-from-home staff can comfortably take on this digital transformation. With the boom of online transactions, managing personal client information and payment details must always be done securely, regardless if these information pass through devices located in the office, in store, or in a device used while working at home. Cybersecurity has always been uncompromisable, but now more than ever, especially during these times when cyber attacks have become more rampant. Our branch-in-a-box solutions enable more reliable and secure networks with better visibility and control to sites whether it's an office, a branch, or work from home. It enables SD1 features to create dual and active links that greatly reduce potential downtime on your site. Best of all is that these are all cloud managed, which create low touch and low effort plug and play IT deployments possible, especially during these times. Equipping your work devices with endpoint advanced security helps protect laptops, desktops, and servers from malware, ransomware, weaponized files, and data theft. The day-to-day maintenance of your IT devices should not burden your skeletal team. Our IT on-demand services can provide first and second level support for your computers, POS, and even Wi-Fi concerns on site. The industry must respond to the changing behaviors of today's consumers through contactless methods and implementing cybersecurity measures to your day-to-day operations. Now, back to you, Arman.
If establishing online presence is one way to keep the business running during the pandemic, retailers seeking to grab market share have to put up a multitude of front-facing touch points to capture the customer in the exact moment that they are primed for a purchase. But maintaining and monitoring a handful of digital platforms and physical stores simultaneously bring a different kind of challenge to the table. Your digital pivot can backfire if your internal system do not give you a single view to manage sales and inventories across all channels. And the IT infrastructure in which your system are hosted in is prone to downtime and disruptions. Are your system ready to reinforce your growing pivot to the digital space? Here's segment marketing specialist Tristan Lindo to give you more insights.
We all know that customer is king, and in this new normal, where shoppers are becoming accustomed to an easy, quick, frictionless, and most important, safe mode of transactions, the retailer that meets these new minimum expectation will be getting majority of the customer in sales. With the thinking that more is more, retailers look to fire up as many digital touchpoints as possible. However, what majority fail to realize is that a good omni-channel retail experience is not just about the number of touchpoints you set up, but also having a fully integrated and intelligent supply chain. Integrating your front and back-end operations is key to supporting your multiple touchpoints and providing the right quality of service that your customers expect. For those who don't have an ERP system set up, Simple ERP makes it simple, affordable, and accessible to have inventory, purchasing, accounting, sales, and reports for better decision-making and control of their business. OmniRio, through its platforms, is powering the new age of retail, where you're able to manage your multiple online platforms and physical stores seamlessly by ready-to-use integrations on the platforms with e-commerce, marketplaces, ERPs, warehouse, POS, accounting, and last-mile carriers, bringing together the ecosystem for you to deliver the best customer experience to power your business in the new normal. Keeping your system well organized is one thing, but ensuring the uptime of these systems is another. Secure your company's valuable data in a Vitro data center that offers up to 99.99% SLA and is equipped with globally renowned certifications and best operational practices to ensure that your business will be up and running no matter the circumstance. Furthermore, you can back up and replicate your co-located data in ePLDT's locally hosted Azure stack. This global leading cloud infrastructure, now brought in the country, means less latency and better performance, plus adheres to data sovereignty and regulatory requirements. Having your data in Vitro gives you access to highly skilled IT professionals who can keep your IT equipment in their best shape, and with services like proactive monitoring, keep track of your machine's performance and get proactive alerts and recommendations for full optimization. Lastly, the Security Operations Center as a Service functions like your own cybersecurity team that monitors and responds to cyber threats to ensure that your data protected and uncompromised. Having the best systems and tools will help you survive and thrive during the pandemic, but reinforcing these by co-locating in a robust facility will not help you pandemic-proof your business, but also exponentially increase your resiliency for big and uncertainties in the future. Now, back to Arman.
Staying connected, adapting to the new normal, and ensuring business continuity are crucial points that you should always keep in mind. But there's another equally important things to consider as you establish your growing online presence and omnichannel strategy, and that's data privacy. Retailers, and more so e-commerce platforms, are handling and keeping thousands, if not millions, of personal data every day that need to be regulated according to Data Privacy Act. With this, it's best to review some crucial provision in the said act to ensure that we are compliant every step of the way. Here's digital transformation strategist Francis Valencia to tell us more about it.
As some of us have increased the capacity of our online platforms, and as some of us have pivoted very quickly from traditional brick-and-mortar setups to digital, we've had to adapt to new ways of doing things. And because we continually want to serve our customers and need their data to do this, there are some considerations we have to look at now that we collect and process their information via digital. Now, as a backgrounder in data privacy, the information about the customers is called personal data or personal information. In these new ways of doing things, I'd like to focus on 3 stages in the data lifecycle, namely when we collect personal information, when we pass them to delivery partners or platforms, or the additional manpower you may have acquired for deliveries, and ultimately when we keep and maintain this new windfall of personal information. Anywhere in this life cycle, it is our legal and moral obligation as a business entity to make sure that this data is properly used and regulated. In collection, data was arguably more convenient to collect in person. But now we realize that it's even more convenient via digital channels, especially when customers require the service right away. While this is good for the business, this presents some red flags that you should think about data privacy-wise, such as, have we updated our consent and privacy statements to reflect the changes in our business models? Do our apps tell our customers how we'll use their data and where it will go? Do they know who gets to see this information? And hopefully you're not asking yourself, did we even ask for their consent in the first place? Now, on to passing of information. Because we've included deliveries as part of our value chain, when passing this information to our partners, do we really know what they're doing with this information? Are we protecting ourselves from unwanted incidents where the data can be misused, or worse, sold to the highest bidder? And if customers complain that their data has been compromised, do we really know how to handle the situation? And finally, because of the sudden influx of information you now have, are your storage and retention measures and policies in place? It's not enough to have them saved in a hard drive somewhere in your office, because the Act needs you to employ the proper amount of security for this information. In ePLDT, we have our data privacy consulting service that will help you address all these concerns. We aim to ensure your firm's compliance with the Data Privacy Act by employing guidance in the way you process and manage personal information. We can complete any or all of the National Privacy Commission's 5 pillars, essentially reducing the workload of your data protection officer and completing everything within a reasonable time frame, anywhere from 3 to 5 months. In our engagement, we also conduct an organization-wide briefing to make sure everyone is on board when it comes to the proper way of, again, collecting, passing on, and maintaining information, and of course, everything in between, even up to how this updates your code of discipline. These, along with other important touch points in your data journey, is where ePLDT's IT business consulting team comes in. Through our consulting practice, we specialize in digital transformation, digital platforms, data science, smart industries, data privacy, managed IT service for infrastructure, databases, applications, among others. Through our free and paid offerings, we ensure that our consulting service properly baselines your current IT maturity status and make sure we bridge your business vision, your digital vision, and the technology you want to use to be able to get to where you want to go. And with that, on behalf of the e-commerce and retail breakout team, we invite you to have your digital transformation conversation with us. Thank you for your time and stay tuned for more.
Thank you again, Arman, Mika, Tristan, and Francis for taking us through various platforms and technologies that will enable businesses of all sizes. Our next speaker is an avid conference speaker and cybersecurity evangelist with more than 15 years of experience in product solution, sales, and business development. He drives the accounts management to facilitate optimal application of cybersecurity technology and adoption in the retail sector. Here to talk about retail cybersecurity in this new digitized business landscape, please welcome Enterprise Major Account Manager from Fortinet Inc., Henrik Kamiling.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here at the Philippine Digital Convention 2020. Given with the current pandemic situation and the fact that we're having this conversation in digital truly shows that technology adoption and innovation are great enablers of business continuity. In a July 2020 published report of a survey conducted by Asian Development Bank on the impact of coronavirus disease to Philippine enterprises, one of the key findings was that wholesale and retail trade were the sector most adversely affected by the ECQ. In the food retail industry, as they undertake on implementing health precautions to keep their employees and consumers safe, restaurant organizations also need to protect their networks. New technologies have been adopted by restaurants to rapidly add services, contactless transactions, mobile applications, kiosks, and e-commerce portals, to name a few. Retail cybersecurity has become more vital and more complex with digital innovation. But staying secure has its challenges, foremost of which are reduced budgets and staffing. The retail industry is a common target of cybercriminals, with many retailers having been the victim of a data breach in the past. Who would not know of the December 2013 Target data breach? 40 million payment card credentials and 70 million customer records lost. This security incident forced consumers and the cybersecurity community to question the security practices of retailers. Let us look more closely in the different zones and segments of a retail network. What kind of access needs to be allowed? Where do we put the security controls? Is the network compliance? Is it an authorized application? How do we safeguard data in the cloud? Do we have an end-to-end network visibility and management? The omnichannel zone, as consumers increasingly turn to online retail, physical retail locations must adapt to the changing consumer landscape. Customers expect retailers to provide both brick and mortar showrooms and online shopping experiences that are accessible either from the desktop or on a mobile device. To accomplish this, retailers must deploy fast, reliable, and secure in-store wireless access. Retailers must operate efficiently by utilizing single pane of glass view for centralized visibility and management. This allows organizations to manage multiple retail locations with limited staff. Are we compliant? The Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, or PCI DSS, will be retired in 2022. The PCI Software Security Framework will replace it and is already being phased in. Integrating the security infrastructure is especially helpful for PCI compliance. Central control for the entire attack surface means that PCI data is protected both in motion and at rest. Securing the branch. Retailers need fast and scalable connectivity to enable seamless transactions in support of sales, inventory, purchasing, and other activities. Compared to traditional MPLS lines for branch-to-branch or branch-to-headquarters connections, software-defined wide area networking, or SD1, offers a more flexible approach to connectivity with faster performance at a better total cost of ownership. Instead of deploying firewalls and other network infrastructure in conjunction with SD1 devices, Fortinet offers an all-in-one SD1 solution. It has a built-in security that enables retailers to achieve consistent security coverage from the internet to the switching infrastructure. This is what we call FortiGate Secure SD1. Unknown threats slipping in through customer or employee mobile devices and through a variety of application and user interfaces is a favorite attack vector. Advanced threat protection must cover internal activity as well. And a multi-layer defense is the best approach to network security. Public and private cloud deployments both have their advantages. And the use of a secure SD1 solution can allow organizations to decrease latency and reduce load on the headquarters network. Retailers need to optimize the security of their multi-cloud environments, such as cloud-based firewall, email, and website protection solutions, AI-based threat intelligence distributed in real time across the security infrastructure, automated traffic identification and classification, including encrypted cloud application data, and secure SD1 to provide direct, secure access to cloud resources from branch locations. Having the security controls in the different zone of a retail network, we are protecting retailers against advanced threat while providing positive customer experiences. Challenges are addressed in protecting applications and data for the modern retailer. A cybersecurity platform that provides broad visibility across network environment and can manage both security and network operations, Fortinet can help address key retail cybersecurity challenges. The same platform enables customers to achieve their digital innovations outcomes while reducing complexity and risk. That is why Fortinet is the ideal partner for retail networks. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the Q&A later.
Thank you, Hener. Indeed, there's so much that enterprises, large or small, can do with the solutions and technologies we have today. So let's hear what some of them have to say and what they look forward to with our services. Let's welcome Nacho Mapa, e-commerce manager from Decathlon.
At Decathlon, our mission is to make the pleasures and benefits of sport accessible to the many. We dream of a world where sport is not a privilege, because we believe that sport can develop good values, promote a healthier lifestyle, and positively impact the planet. Over the years, we've witnessed how sport can create unforgettable memories and brings people together. We are committed to innovating our products to make it easier for people to do sport, which has enabled us to create products such as the 2-second tent that lets you set up your tent in 2 seconds, and the Easy Breath that enables you to discover the ocean like never before. The love Filipinos have for sport amazes us, and we see the role that we have to play for the future of sport in the Philippines. We don't have brick and mortar stores outside Mega Manila, but we pledge to connect with as many current and future sport lovers as possible through our website, decathlon.ph, that makes our products accessible nationwide. This was especially vital during the pandemic because we were the first channel of Decathlon able to reopen to customers. The reopening was like entering the pressures of a championship match. The demand went beyond their expectations, and we had orders 4 times higher than what we had before. This required us to up our game plan from operations to user support. Our IT infrastructure was halted for 2 months, and we were on edge about the potential impact of this pause. It was rocky at first, but eventually we were able to cope with it. This was also thanks to the stability of Pldt at that time. The internet connection played a big role in our operations, starting from the order receiving and fulfillment to modifying orders for users. Today, we have teammates working in fulfillment sites, completing orders, and from home, managing the website. The internet connection plays a crucial role in connecting us. As our game continues to evolve in the Philippines, we look forward to working with PLDT in the future.
Like Nacho, we look forward to servicing others like them. And now, here to share the various tools and technologies that are redefining the way we do business, let's hear from Palo Alto Network's Field Chief Security Officer for Asia Pacific, who is also responsible for developing thought leadership, threat intelligence, and security best practices for the public and private sector across the region. Please welcome Kevin O'Leary.
Hi, I'm very happy to be back at DigiCon for day 2, at least day 2 for me, which is very exciting because last year I only came for one morning, although I did end up doing about 3 different presentations in that morning, one of which was completely unexpected. So maybe there are more surprises for me today as well, who knows? But anyway, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy my presentation. So when I was asked to present on e-commerce and retail, I really had to think a little bit about, what was I going to talk about? Because if we were going to talk about, companies that are using e-commerce already, really we're just talking about little tweaks. But what I thought when I really dug into it and started doing a bit of research as I was preparing for the talk was really to think about how, again, in this idea of cyber physical and Industry 5.0, how retail really has become interconnected, whether it has an e-commerce presence or not. It is actually very much connected to the internet and very much reliant, and will only become more reliant on the Internet of Things. So first of all, it's in terms of customer Wi-Fi, in terms of loyalty programs, tracking people through the mall or through the shop, looking at employees in terms of productivity, doing stock control. And then looking at operating costs and operating management in this new world that we're living in right now. And of course, within that situation, there are a lot of concerns. And in this particular slide, it's actually from a presentation I gave to a large company in the US about off-price retail and the part that has to play in terms of economies around the world, including in the Philippines. And what we found when we started researching this for this particular customer was in terms of the issues that they had with traditional point of sale vulnerabilities, with supply chain threats, with IoT management, and customer privacy. Now, in this short talk, I won't be able to go to any of these in huge detail, but just think of this in terms of how this can spark thought and interest in terms of how you might be managing your businesses and the concerns you might have going forward. So when we think about the supply chain when it comes to retail, it's not just a question of getting the product from the factory into the stores. It's also thinking about how am I going to bring these things to market? The outbound logistics, how it goes into the store, how the customer interacts with it, how inventory is going to be managed. Once we know what the inventory is, how are we going to get the product into our warehouses or the components that we need to make those products and to get them into the store? And finally, there's the idea of managing our brand. How are we going to manage that brand into the future? How are we going to manage that online in terms of all of the difficulties that we see with that? And in terms of what we've noticed, what's happening right now are all of the attacks on retail, on the internet, or leveraging the internet at the very least. And I've put a few examples up there. Again, I don't have the time to go into huge detail, but just to give that impression, just so you understand, it's a real problem for bricks and mortar businesses, as well as people working in e-commerce, because of this interconnected world and how we're leveraging IoT right now. And this is something that we've seen develop over the years. So I love this chart in many ways because it shows the mountain that we have to climb when it comes to dealing with cybersecurity. But the other thing that I like to point out when I show this slide is that all of the things that we were seeing back in 2004 are still a problem. So all we're doing is adding more problems to existing problems. And when we talk about Industry 5.0 and we talk about retail and all the issues of retail, that's exactly the situation that we're finding ourselves in. And for us at Palo Alto Networks, in Unit 42, our research unit, we've been able to look at some of the areas that have really been an issue over the last few years and that are going to be an issue right now and into the future. So obviously phishing, in terms of people leveraging your e-commerce website and using that as a way to steal from your customers. In terms of point of sale, so when you get down to the physical bricks and mortar of the mall, how are you managing those points of sale? How are people able to connect to the transactions that are happening between your shops and within the shop just by sitting at a cafe nearby and hijacking those sessions? And then the last, which is kind of traditional, but it's been around for a long time, but it's still there, which is the idea of skimming on your machines, so that people are able to skim information from credit cards on the physical devices. And again, I wish I could spend hours going through all of these different areas, but there's some concepts I want you to think about. So when we think about the internet right now, we think about points of sale and we think about retail and mall, we're really talking about branch and HQ. So what's happening on the floor, on the shop floor is one thing, and what's happening back at the warehouse or at the HQ and managing all of that is another thing, but all of them are interconnected. So in this interconnected world, we have to start thinking about a few things. We have to think about, first of all, within the branch, what the network looks like. How are people managing different devices and managing issues within the branch? Then we also have to think about how that branch then connects into HQ. So we like to think of it in terms of lateral movement. So if somebody has access to a point of sale, they can then connect laterally into other parts of your network and maybe even disrupt delivery or make moves to steal from you financially. So those are things to consider in terms of your branch and your HQ. When it comes to e-commerce, we think about the connection of your bricks and mortar, your HQ, and then your e-commerce and your website presence. And often you're managing inventory, you're managing the warehouse, you're managing all of these things in the same way across the same networks. So what we are suggesting is that it's extremely important that you take an approach and that you get the right products and the right cybersecurity strategy in place. So thank you very much. I hope that this was in some way a stimulating presentation, albeit very fast. But what I find when I have an opportunity to speak in these very quick sessions is that it can really spark thought in people. And I just want you to take some thoughts away from you in terms of how you can better secure your e-commerce and retail business in this new era of Industry 5.0. Thank you again.
Key in your questions, comments, and suggestions via the chat.
And now that we have discovered and learned about the latest technologies and solutions designed to reinvent your businesses, it's time for us to entertain your questions. At this point, let me introduce you to our esteemed panelists, beginning with ASEC Marijin Pacheco. She is the e-commerce lead for Digital Philippines at the Department of Trade and Industry. Good afternoon, ASEC Marijin. All right, next we have Kay Bondok de la Cruz. She is a corporate relationship management head for e-commerce at Pldt Enterprise. Great to have you here with us, Kay.
Good afternoon, Jess. Good afternoon to everyone.
And next we also have Anthony Fernandez. He is a corporate relationship management head for retail at Pldt Enterprise. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jess. Good afternoon, everyone.
And we also have Cyrus Mewawala. He is the head of thematic research at Global Data. Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, Jess. Nice to be here.
And we also have Kevin O'Leary, Palo Alto Network's Field Chief Security Officer for Asia Pacific. Great to have you on board with us, sir.
Thank you. Nice to be back.
Okay, we also have Arman Garcia, Enterprise Solutions Specialist at Pldt Enterprise Manager.
Good afternoon, Jess.
Good afternoon. And Spencer Romano, he is Paymaya Enterprise Business Development Manager. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And Henry Camiling, he is Enterprise Major Account Manager at Fortinet Inc.
Hi, Jeff. Good afternoon, everyone, and to all the delegates, thank you for...
And of course, we also have Nacho Mapa. He is the e-commerce manager at Decathlon. Good morning, sir. Good afternoon, Randy. To all our delegates, do engage with us by typing in your questions in the chat box. Okay, so now let's proceed to our first question. This one is coming from the chat box, specifically from Rizel, and she's asking ASEC Marijin Pacheco, moving forward, what are DTI's initiatives towards MSME digitization?
Thank you for the question. When we did the digitalization survey, it was really meant so that government can come up with projects that are really more relevant, and it's not like a one-size-fits-all, right? So in the survey that we conducted, we realized that really the digitalization levels of SMEs vary. So the task of the DTI is to make sure that we provide programs that cater to those specific SMEs, right? We realized that some of them don't even have an email. So we need to convince, and some of them don't know how to use the tools. So we need to come up with upskilling. We need to encourage them to come up with the use of the adoption of social media, for instance. And most especially, I think one of the things that we need to do, as far as government is concerned, is to make our programs a little bit more sexy. We want to inspire our micro, small, and medium enterprises so that they will also continue to engage with us. Upskilling, reskilling, widespread use, culture change. These are our priorities. Aside from the fact, of course, that loans and all of the access to market, and of course policy. We will not forget improvement in policy. So those are some of the programs that the government will do to really improve and promote the digitalization of micro, small, and medium enterprises.
All right, so basically upskilling, but in a sexier package, at least for our small business there. Thank you very much, ASEC Marijin. Now, this is from Gilbert. He is asking Cyrus, which technologies are likely to disrupt the retail sector the most over the next 2 to 3 years? And what is the biggest risk retailers are facing today?
I'll take the first question. Which technology is likely to disrupt retailers the most? I think ambient commerce is the real game-changing technology for retailers over the next 3 to 5 years. And by that, I mean you walk into a retail store, you pick up what you want, and then you walk out. They figure out who you are, either by your phone or face recognition. They figure out what you've picked up, and then they charge you without you having to take your credit card or your mobile phone out. Now, this requires, the key asset here is retail space. So if you're a traditional retailer, your competitors are online and they're hurting you. But the key asset for ambient commerce is retail space, which you've got. So you're in a strong position. The big risk, of course, is you have to spend a lot of money. It's a big investment. You have to invest in servers, in big data, in artificial intelligence, in IoT sensors, and so on. But I would say it's an investment that is really worth it for the long term. And now is the time to make that investment when the industry is facing an inflection point. The second question is, what's the biggest risk? And to me, there's no question of what's the biggest risk, and that is cybersecurity. If you suffer a cyber attack, then your reputation is going to get damaged. More likely to suffer a cyber attack in a situation like now, when COVID is making customers more relaxed, when you are investing more in personalization, you carry more customer data, you've moved a lot of your IT to the cloud. So the attack surface for you is very high, and therefore you must invest in cybersecurity to protect your reputation.
Okay, no better time than now to actually make that investment, especially when it comes to cybersecurity. Thank you very much for that insight, Cyrus. Now let's move on to our third question. This one is for Kay from Rugem. As a technology partner, how are you able to help these e-commerce, both big and emerging, survive the challenges of this pandemic?
Thank you for the question. Actually, we've been in collaboration with a lot of existing e-commerce companies, even before the pandemic. But I must say, once the lockdowns have begun, the need for a fully reliable technology partner has intensified. So just we have put in place plans and programs, even expansion activities to efficiently connect the online platforms to their online customers 24/7. We truly understand the importance of staying connected, especially during these times. But if you will allow me to highlight, Pldt is not only your connectivity provider. We have been and we are your true end-to-end ICT partner. And just to name some of the industry-focused programs for e-commerce that we have done over the past month. So we continue to work with them in their journey to shift to an omni-channel system. And of course, this is to improve customer experience. And we also build programs together with our cybersecurity groups for data protection. This is now to sustain customer trust and loyalty as well. And if I may also say that the services that we provide are fully customized according to the evolving needs of the e-commerce industry.
All right. Of course, a level of adoption as well, when it comes to the services that Pldt provides. Now we have another question this time around. This is for Kevin from Mark. What can retailers do to protect their branch locations against cyber attacks?
Well, it's kind of a continuation from what Cyrus was mentioning there earlier. So traditionally, when we thought about branches, whether it was in retail or banking or any other form of remote office, I would say, compared to headquarters, we always saw them as kind of separate networks. So it's kind of a strange dichotomy because there's two things you want to do. One is segregate more within the branch, and the other side is actually connect more from the branch. And by that I mean that instead of looking at the branch in the traditional way where it would have its own network and sometimes its own server on the premises, and that there would be maybe a daily run that would collect the information, and overnight that would all be managed through the old processes. What we're seeing is that what happens with that is that you get a separation between the branch and headquarters, where headquarters might be using new technology, but the branch ends up having a legacy system, sometimes for years. So we want to look at it in terms of how the branch can connect better into the headquarter networks, probably from leveraging something like SASE, which is the Secure Access Service Edge. So using that to traditionally kind of connect the branch as if it was one network. But on the other side, leveraging things like SD1 and also on the local area, looking at how we can use software-defined networks to segregate the different points within the branch. So in terms of points of sale, in terms of inventory, in terms of the normal operations of just managing data and emails and communication, that these should all be separated. And obviously your guest networks, which more and more retailers want to provide, that's also separate as well. So it's a mixed message, I know, and I understand that can be quite confusing. But the way I would sum it up is to say more segregation within the branch and less segregation between the branch and the headquarters. So as long as you're using the right technology.
All right, quite a complicated ecosystem to establish, but nonetheless, that is very much essential. Thank you for that, Kevin. Now, a question for Spencer from Mia. She's asking, how do you think has the COVID-19 pandemic changed the financial transaction behavior of Filipinos?
That's a very interesting question because COVID fundamentally changed how we do things on a day-to-day basis. We're a bit more cognizant about the risk involved, particularly on, with the virus around. We saw a significant number of people migrating from traditional way of doing things, from cash, to adopting e-wallet and doing cashless transactions. So these transactions include, an e-wallet like PayMaya, where one has to send money from a PayMaya wallet to a bank account, or maybe to pay bills, utility bills, phone bills, through the phone app. And even their day-to-day purchases for supermarkets, for instance, or are being done online through a QR or through a PayMaya button or even the mobile number. So online acceptance, we also saw became more prevalent, especially during the quarantine period. We saw a lot of implementation happen, particularly in the government sector as well. PayMaya has implemented about 50 government agencies already, and we expect this trend to rise, given that there is also a push from the national government to prioritize the safety of the individuals. We also saw, interestingly, businesses pivot from a traditional brick and mortar to being present online. In fact, the number of unique merchants that PayMaya has onboarded has increased 1,400% year on year, just last September. So there is already a preference for a lot of businesses to move into this space because I think during this period, a lot of businesses had to rethink how they operate and how they service their customers. Unfortunately, this adoption was pushed by the pandemic. However, I'm very much optimistic with the changes that has happened to actually stay moving forward because it brought a lot of flexibility and it is a lot safer than doing a regular transaction.
All right, so wider adoption now when it comes to digital payment schemes, definitely. At the same time, what's interesting is how government has, in fact, also boosted their adoption. So thank you very much for that, Spencer. Now let's move on to another question. This time around, you have coming from Rach to Arman. She's asking, what solutions that PLDT can offer for business operation to be resilient to any kind of disaster?
Thank you for the question, Jess. Disaster is a very serious event, be it natural or man-made. It can have a lasting impact on enterprise organization. It can be disrupted operation and may result lost revenue, customer, and even confidence of business partners. To be resilient, business operation need to have business continuity strategy in place. So the enterprise organization can prepare for and minimize the impact of disaster. ePLDT can help businesses when it comes to disaster recovery and business continuity. We can provide enterprise organization with seamless continuity and immediate recovery in the event of disaster. Vitro co-location, tape vaulting, managed service tests, and managed IT services are some of the solutions for disaster recovery. Enterprise customer can use Vitro facilities already equipped with workstations, telephone and fax line, and office equipment such as photocopiers and printers. They can have few of their IT staff work on resuming operations. This service is ideal, particularly for help desk, contact center, and system administration function.
All right, so definitely lots of options here for businesses, at least for them to make, at least to adapt better to the situation that we're in right now. Now, thank you for that. Now, let's move on. We have another question this time around. This is from Marlon. He's asking Henner, how do you secure SD1?
Thank you, Jeff, for the question. So allow me quickly to answer it in two parts. How an SD1 works and so that we get a grasp of where to put our security controls. An SD1 solution connects users to any application wherever it resides, from the data center to the cloud. SD1 then intelligently determines which path best meets the ideal performance need for a specific application. It then routes the traffic to the ideal path. Most SD1 solutions aren't without security challenges, and one critical requirement for SD1 success is fully integrated security. So that's how we secure SD1. A next-generation firewall whose key components include intrusion prevention, or IPS, web filtering, secure sockets layer inspection, or SSL, we may call it, and anti-malware is an example of an integrated solution. Secure SD1, as Fortinet does it, is explicitly designed to interoperate as a single offering, meaning ideally with each element running on the same operating system and managed using a single pane of glass. This ensures that transactions are all seen and inspected, and any threats or anomalous behaviors are shared between every solution for a maximum protection. As part of such an integrated system, the networking and connectivity functionalities of an SD1 aren't just more closely associated with the security solutions installed on the platform, they're the same thing. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thank you very much for that. And now let's move on to another question. This time around, this is for Nacho. You have Ino Reyes asking, what is the impact of having e-commerce in your business?
So the impact is that it really lets us be more accessible to our users. Decathlon's open in Metro Manila, so we have a physical store presence here, but it lets us reach our users also in the Visayas and Mindanao areas. And since the pandemic, since people want to stay home more, they can't go out to the gym as well. Users can now order their items safely online from the comfort of their homes and have it delivered to them, and they can continue to do sport and keep their healthy lifestyle without having to visit malls and other areas that they might feel unsafe in.
All right, no excuse, at least when it comes to keeping yourself fit and healthy amid the pandemic. Thank you for that, Nacho. Now, our last question is for Anthony. This one coming from Luisa. She's asking, for retail, what will be essential to sustain the business in the new normal?
Thank you, Jess. Let me encapsulate my response into three essential parts that will be critical for any retail business to thrive in the new normal. The first being technology. This will be very integral for any retail business that will allow them to continue delivering goods and services for their consumers. Second will be privacy. More consumer data will be entrusted to retailers, and it will be the responsibility to keep it safe and confidential at all times. And lastly, partnerships. Retail businesses will have to strengthen partnerships with government agencies and dependable managed service providers. This will allow them to focus more on their end-to-end business operations. All these three, I think, will be of great impact for any retail business in the new normal.
All right, a good integration of all these three elements to make your business survive the pandemic. Thank you very much, Anthony. And again, thank you to all our panelists for joining us this afternoon. Now, if there are no more questions at this point, we would like to thank our presenters and panelists for spending this memorable afternoon with us. Special thanks to our official event partners. To all our delegates, thank you all for tuning in. Again, you can get a chance to win these exciting raffle prizes just by answering our feedback form that will be flashed on your screens after the program. Stay tuned for the eBPO Breakout Session and get more chances to win other premium prizes. Once again, I'm Jesse De Los Santos, and this has been the Impact of Business Transformation featuring e-commerce and eRETAIL of the Philippine Digital Convention 2020, brought to you by PLDT Enterprise, Smart, and ePLDT.